Hi everybody. This is Leslie, and I'm so excited to have Dr. Michelle Pedicolis with me right now. She has read my book, and she reached out to me because she really wanted to express what she learned and what was interesting to her about the book. And I thought it would be really fun to just get her on. She is a really powerful woman entrepreneur, and I would love others to know about her too. So, welcome, Michelle, and perhaps just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Leslie. It's my pleasure to be here. And I am a life transformation coach. I have been working in this business for over 10 years, probably working in the whole field of transformation and grief and loss for another 10 years before that, because I was a filmmaker and I actually made a 3-part documentary series on facing death, caregiving, and grieving. So I work with people who are grieving, but I also work with people who are going through a major life challenge. So it could be a divorce, or it could be a retirement, or it could be a health challenge. I'm not there to help them with their health challenge in the sense of providing the nutrition, but I'm there to help them navigate the emotional responses to that kind of life challenge.
Yeah,
And
beautiful.
so then I'm interested in talking about your book because, believe me, I've been doing this business for quite a while, and I've been exposed to a lot of different people promoting their fast path to cash and how to do it and how to use speaking as a way to get people to become your clients. And I have been exposed to a lot of fluff, and I've been exposed to stuff that's useful, but then it turns out it was really for certain kinds of people and not necessarily people with my background, people who are already entrepreneurs or already successful at selling. What about the people who are not used to that? And I felt like your book really spoke to me and the kind of issues that I have around making a successful business. And that's what I really want to talk about.
Yeah, I love that. And also the book, as you know, I built my business as a product-based business. You are in a service-based business, which many, many women are. And I'm really happy to hear that the book also is helping business women, entrepreneurs who are also coaches or in the service-based business as well. The ideas in the book are pretty universal. It's definitely for women because there are a lot of challenges women have, especially around money. And perhaps you could talk a little bit more specifically about what kind of touched you in the book, or what you learned, or what resonated with you.
Well, every chapter did, but there were some chapters that were like, pow. The first one, which was to identify what you really, really, really want, was very powerful to me because it caused me to think more clearly about what my vision is. And also brought the question up, how do I feel about making money? And yeah, that's an issue. Do I believe that I can make money? Which, of course, takes me to mastering your thoughts and realizing how often my own thoughts have sabotaged me. And you gave really practical solutions that I could relate to because, of course, I work with clients and their mindset all the time. They have to work on their mindset. And so yeah, the Post-its, that made total sense to me. Yeah, put it up there because you have to reprogram the brain. I talk about reprogramming the brain all the time.
I just wanted to grab my Post-it.
Yeah.
And just to let everybody know what we're talking about, having these visual reminders, like, for example, what you want to achieve. Here, I have 100 5-star reviews of my book. That's one of my goals. So you write your goals, you write your financial goals, or whatever goal you want to have on these Post-its, and you put them, visually wherever you see them, like everywhere, like, for example, on your car console, if you drive a car, or even inside your wallet or on your refrigerator, when brushing your teeth in the morning, because the power of it is we're basically brainwashing ourselves to on a deep level, on an unconscious level, to even believe it. It's just like a TV commercial or commercial you're seeing all the time, or advertisements coming up on your computer. They're constantly brainwashing you. And after you see this, 10 times or 20 times, you're like, okay, I'll go buy that dress that I kept looking at. And that's what we want to do with our positive thoughts. We want to brainwash ourselves so that they become unconscious inside of us. Because really, when people ask me a lot of times, like, what was the one thing, and of course, there's never one thing. But if there is one thing, we have to come back to our mindset over and over and over and over again. So I'm really glad you brought that up.
Well, and what's so beautiful about this is that it doesn't force you to go and get psychological counseling. It's very simple. Your brain has these neural networks that have been repeated over and over and over again through the course of your life. If you change the pathway, if you create a neural net, then the other one starts to go away. So we don't have to do all that psychological stuff. We can just do very practical things. And the word brainwashing, I kind of like it, even though it is value laden, or it's got a lot of spin on it. Brainwashing we associate with, being prisoners of war and, changing our minds, or Patty Hearst, oh, she was brainwashed. But I like it because, in a sense, we're washing out all the crap that was put into our brains a long time ago. We are rewiring our brains. That's what we are trying to do. We're trying to wire them so that we can have more success and take away all those messages that we were given as children that said, oh, you can't do that. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. We don't do that. It's selfish, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, exactly. And we have to keep doing this. And I think that's a message I really want to let other women know as well, is that, it's not like you do it once and then it's like fixed. This is like the work we have to do all the time, like checking our thoughts and seeing what we're saying to ourselves. And then maybe we, get to a certain point where, oh, good stuff is happening because we did that, but then it's other things start. So this is like the really hard work that we have to all do. And that's another message I really want to have in the book, is that, it's not always easy, and it's not always easy to be an entrepreneur. And I know you reached out to me and said you really resonated with the chapter that was get used to failures, get you to basically get used to it. And this is something you don't always see, like when we're looking at social media and everything, 7 figures, 8 figures, we did 100,000. I did it in 1 month. We see these messages, and I think it also does. It's good to see positive things. It's also sometimes does a disservice that women who have become successful don't always talk about how difficult it has been at times. And this is incredibly important for women entrepreneurs to understand that it's really not easy all the times. And there's times where things flow and they're going great. Like, for example, right now in my business, things are easy and flowing. And I knock on wood, I don't have one issue. But talk to me last fall, and I was practically crying every day how difficult things had become. So maybe you can talk a little bit about why that chapter also resonated with you.
Well, a year ago, more than a year ago, I was about to launch a new program, and I had gotten a few people to sign up for my masterclass. I even charged them. And then suddenly everything went wrong. I went on a networking event on Zoom and I couldn't write anything in the chat. So I wasn't able to put out my information on the chat in this networking thing. And then my website, there was some miscommunication. I did a chargeback on something that turned out to be my URL, and my website was offline for 2 months.
Oh,
and I said,
wow.
It was like I couldn't do anything. I could not reach out to anybody. Nobody could come to my website. It was like, that's it. I got the message from the universe. I'm not supposed to be doing this. I'm supposed to do something else. And that's how I interpreted it. And I stopped. I stopped everything. And little by little, I've decided, well, I don't want to lose everything. I had an older website, a WordPress website, and I actually found a phenomenal website designer and tech person that's been helping me to bring that back to life and to have it updated with all the stuff I've had, and to create a natural funnel that's not in your face, but that takes you through on the website. And that's what I've been working on. So when your book came out, I started to realize that, okay, it's time for me to take this up again. But now I'm not going to get thrown off by the complications. When you talked about the things that you went through, it was like, whoa, where you couldn't sell anything on Amazon because they took away your warehouse, and you had to get a new warehouse, and you had to get a new website. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe I overreacted, because we are sensitive. We're like, oh, is the universe saying, no, this is not your life purpose. You're not supposed to be doing this.
I know, that's the trick of the mind. And that is the hard part. It's like, okay, so when things get really rough and difficult, does that mean like, you're not supposed to do it anymore and you're supposed to do something different? Like, what does it mean? And of course, we'll never really know exactly the answer to that. But one answer we know for sure is not to give up. And I'm so glad you shared that story and what happened to you, because I know so many women entrepreneurs relate to that so much. And this is, I said before, one of the main reasons for success is mindset. Well, and I also said there's other things too. And the other thing really is perseverance. Sometimes, I've been in the game a long time. I've actually been an entrepreneur for 30 years, over 30 years now. And I think that just me being an entrepreneur and staying in it, and I changed my product line. Like I used to sell children's clothes, and then I pivoted to women's clothing, and I changed this and I changed that. And just persevering is one of the keys to success. And because your competition, the other people are getting the exact same problems you're getting, and worse problems that you're getting, or even less worse problems than you're getting. And they're going, forget it. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to, whatever. But if you keep staying and you keep doing and you keep going and you keep enjoying what you're doing, and of course that's a really important part, that you keep enjoying it, but sometimes you have to keep going and not enjoy it too. That's also part of persevering. You will be ahead of so many other people just for keeping going, and proud of yourself as well.
So part of the problem with being a coach is that you're selling yourself, and it's much easier, I believe, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, to sell a product than it is to sell yourself. Because when you fail, you feel like a failure. You don't feel like, oh, it's the product. You are the product. And that is probably one of the biggest challenges to being a coach. You have to really work on your mindset, and you have to believe that it's not that. It's something else. It's like maybe you're not using the right words. Maybe you need to change the way in which you do your presentation. Maybe you need to change the sound of your presentation. Maybe you need to smile more. Maybe you need to frown more. You have to keep on trying different things. But it's trickier, because a lot of people who go into the coaching business are people who want to be loved. That at the bottom line is that they want to be of service, they want to be of value, they want to help somebody else. And so they're really sensitive to the rejection factor.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it's really, really true. The product is, if somebody doesn't like my dress, well, it's the dress. And if somebody doesn't like someone's whatever coaching, it's maybe they don't like them. And
Yeah.
you're right. And you have to kind of have a lot of grit as to do coaching for that reason. And to keep going. I actually did a YouTube video, if anyone wants to check it out, on the difference between service-based business and product-based business. And even though what you just brought up is one of the main things about why a service-based business is harder. There are definitely differences on both sides that make it easier. One of the things with service-based businesses is that they're not as expensive to run, because you have your website and you have yourself and you have your video equipment, and maybe you hire a VA or something like that. But I am buying thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of products, of which I don't know if it will sell or not. So the net profit, which is what we're looking for when we have a business, what our net profit is, which basically means, after you get the money in and you pay all your expenses, that's your net profit. So the net profit on a service-based business will always be a lot smaller percentage than on a product-based business will be a lower percentage than on a service-based business. And that is one of the main differences between the two. You need a lot less revenue in a service-based business to make more money than you do with a product-based business. So anyway, that's something for everyone to hear as well. They both have their benefits and their negatives as well.
Well, I want to say one more thing on that. One is that as you become a coach, you can also have products that you sell, but they are intellectual products, they are digital products. So you're not, it takes the time to create them, and you may want to hire a designer to make them look better, or an editor, but they're not involving the kind of investment you talk about. But a lot of the coaches that are very successful are ones that get out all the time, and there are a lot of expenses in that, like doing retreats or doing workshops or doing even online or in person. That can be very expensive when you go to a hotel and you're putting on a whole performance and you have a whole team that's helping you out to do that. That can be big. And the thing is there a way to do your business where you don't have to do all that investment on the front end in order to get people? And that's really scary, because you could spend all that money and then you go in and you totally blow it. You go in there and nobody signs up.
Yes,
and that's really
yes.
scary, because you can spend thousands and thousands of dollars on that kind of a promotion, and sometimes you have to do that in order for people to see you in the midst of all the noise that's out there.
Yes, absolutely. Great point. So let me ask you this, because I know you read the book from cover to cover, and I give a lot of tips in there, a lot of action steps. Can you share perhaps one action step that you feel you're going to take after, now that you've read the book? Is there some one thing that that's what I'm going to do this?
Well, that's really hard for me to choose, but one of the things you said was and you gave resources for it, is to listen to inspirational podcasts to help you with your brain. So that's one of the things. The other thing was to make that list of all your tasks, identify what tasks you can transfer to somebody else, so that because this is not and I tell you, I have a mindset about that. I don't know if you ever have heard this, but this not only came from my husband, but my parents, is if you want to get something done right, you do it yourself.
That's
so
true.
Every time I've hired a VA, they have messed up horribly. And I spend all this money and they don't do it right, and I have to babysit them. And it's like, well, why the hell am I doing this? Why am I paying all this money if they're going to have to be babysat? I might as well do it myself. But it's the mindset that believes that that's going to happen. So I don't attract the right person. Whereas I didn't have that mindset about the website, so I've attracted somebody really good, because I can't do that. I know I can't do that. So I got a really good person.
Sometimes it's better to have somebody else do it 80% instead of you doing it 100%. And what you were talking about right now regarding the list is what I call the operations list, that you write down every single task that your business needs to do. And, in my case, it was way over 200 tasks. And then you really start to identify who's doing them, which VA is doing them, or you're doing them, and how can you rearrange this so that your name is not as much on that paper, or on the screen as the other people's name. And that's the way you start to be able to build a business that works for you, instead of you working for it all the time. And the other thing you mentioned is that, in the back of the book, and the book is now physically here, which is exciting, and you actually can pre-order it right now on Amazon. But in the back of the book, I have included a resource list. It's basically a resource list that gives you podcasts, like you mentioned, books, recommended books to read, people to follow, VA services to hire, and it's because it's like, where do you go sometimes? Like, which podcast do you listen to, and which book do you read? And because there's so many out there. And one of my philosophies always is to hire and learn from those who are where I want to be, and not from those who are kind of where I am, or even under. We want to always learn from others who are doing a little bit better than we're doing. And so that's why I have the resource list. So this has been great, Michelle. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and your ideas. I don't know if there's anything else you just want to add right now.
What did I want to add? So you had the thing about having too many commitments. That was another chapter that really smacked me in the face, because I'm totally overcommitted. I'm involved in Toastmasters.
Yeah.
But have taken on way too much. And so most of my days are spent dealing with things that I have to get done in the roles I'm playing. And I'm realizing and taking steps to pull back and not do so much, and to choose what it is that I do. I'm not saying jettison Toastmasters, because it's a great place for me to get clients. And it gives me an opportunity to really practice my speeches ahead of time and get them really well orchestrated and presented. But I have taken on too much. And that became really clear to me, is that I need to pull back on that in order to launch my new website when it's ready to launch. And I want to be strategic in how I launch it, and what venues I speak on to help me launch the new website when it's ready.
Yeah, that's such a huge one. Women, we're all like, oh, we're really good at multitasking. Well, guess what? You're not. Nobody is, because the brain doesn't work that way. The brain cannot think of two things at the same time. You think it does, but it doesn't. And that was definitely my mistake. I had two businesses, and both of them, and I talk about it in the book, and both of them, did okay, but neither of them did great. And it wasn't until I let go of one and focused 100% on the other, that is when the business started to grow, because whatever we focus on expands. That's it. Right? Whatever it is. So that is a really big one. And sometimes it's hard to let something go, because you're talking about too much involvement in Toastmasters. And I was a Toastmaster too. I know what a wonderful program it is. But if you want to build your business more and get your website out there and all of that, then that's where the focus needs to go. So yeah, thanks so much for bringing that up.
Well, it's tricky, because when you're in Toastmasters, you get a lot of accolades. You not only get the little rewards and the plaques, but it's easy, and nobody's going to make you feel bad. But when you're out there in the business world, you get pushback from the world, and it is more challenging. And if you have insecurities about what you're doing, that you'll attract that. That's why you need a coach or a cheerleader to help you to move on. But you got to watch out, because sometimes these cheerleaders, the coaches that you sign up with, they just want to turn you into a clone of themselves. And you can't do that either. You have to be who you are.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you so much. And Michelle, we are going to add the link as well to your business and where you want to be connected with. Michelle is a extremely experienced coach and consultant in the grief and loss space. So if anybody's listening to this and is suffering right now from past traumas or current, she's definitely the coach for you. So thank you so much, Michelle, for being here.
You're so very welcome, Leslie. It was my pleasure.